Alright, hey and welcome to example 2 of the Pyro chapter. In this example, we're going to take a look at how to source volume in a different way to the last setup. So in the last example, example 1, we had a single frame that we sourced for our volume. In this example, we're going to take a look at how to source for every frame or continuously, which is most likely a preferred way of sourcing since you have more control and you can actually control what frames you want to source on and not. So it's quite good, and you have more options in this node we're going to use as well. So the setup here with the sphere, with the volume, and with the out node is the same. The out node is called density 1, just so we can make a difference between the examples, but yeah. So go into the .NET and take a look. So in the .NET here we have the same setup except for this node right here called a source volume. This source volume does exactly what it says. It sources volumes into our Pyro solver, and we need to connect it into the last input, which is the sourcing post solve. What this source volume does, it gives us a lot of other options that this one doesn't have, and it also allows us to actually source for each frame. So in the volume path, we want to put the object into the Pyro at density 1. Activation to 1, scale of source volume. It basically means the scale. This is a multiplier as well. Sorry, this scale source volume is a multiplier. Scale temperature is also a multiplier, and scale velocity is also a multiplier. So this all multiplies a volume field with a corresponding name. So this one multiplies density, this one multiplies temperature, and this one multiplies velocity. Then you have a lot of other options here. You get volume operations, particle operations, masks, sub-to-dot bindings, instancing, and clear. We're not going to go over these now, but in a later episode or example. So as you can see, we still need a smoke object because this one provides a lot of other useful things, such as guides. It has, for example, it has our bounding box. It has our division size, where we can control the resolution of what we're creating in here. So it's always a good practice, or it's almost essential to have the smoke object, even if you're sourcing with a small source volume. But source volume will source continuously. So as you can realize, we don't have anything in the density subpath here. It's clear. Yeah, so in the Pyro solver, we have done the same. We turn on some turbulence just to visualize what's going on. And yeah, let's press play and talk about what happens. So as you can see here, we're not sourcing, and it looks way denser than the example 1. And that's because we are sourcing per frame. So every frame, the exact same amount of density is added, which means that it doesn't really fade out. It just keeps on sourcing forever. How we can cut this off is by actually keyframing some things. So let's say after 10 frames, after let's say 20 frames, you want to cut this off. We can either do it activation. We can do activation from 1 to 0, which is a hard deactivation, right? So from one frame to another, we will just stop sourcing. We can also do it while scaling our source volume, which means we can gradually stop sourcing, which is almost always a better option. So we can keyframe that on 1, and then this little button, you can by the way press it, the brain, and if it's like crossed over like that, that means you're not doing anything dynamic, so it's gonna stop doing that, which is nice if you want to change some values while just not have to worry about anything sourcing or solving. So at 20, we are scale source volume 1. Let's go 10 frames or 15 frames forward and bring that down to a 0. And let's see what happens when we do that. So I'm gonna reset it. Reset and dive back in. Alright, let's see what happens. So it sources, and it stops sourcing. It's still really dense, and that's because we don't have any dissipation on. So let's turn on some dissipation. Which dissipation is basically like a dispersion, or like the volume actually gets so cool that it doesn't even show up as smoke anymore. So let's put this up to a 1 and play it again. So it's sourcing, stop sourcing, and you can see it fades out. So that's great. That's exactly what we want. So sources, and it stops sourcing, and it fades. So that's kind of how you source continuously. for every frame, which is 99.9 times of 10 times of 100, a better way to do it than sourcing as a single frame. Anyway, I think that's all for this tutorial. I'll see you guys in the next example. Thank you.